Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. A'udhu billahi minash shaytanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Huwa alladhi arsala rasulahu bil huda wa dinil haqqi liyudhhirahu ala ad-dini kullihi walau kariha al-mushrikun. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My dear brothers and sisters, our topic for the conference, for the Seer conference, as you know, is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his community. My talk tonight will focus a little bit on the mission of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then more about how it relates to our context today. So I recited ayah 9 from Surah As-Saf. Here's a translation. It is He meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is He who sent His messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, with the final guidance and the religion of truth, that He may make it manifest over all other systems, even though those who associate others with Allah may dislike it. So basically, the mission of our Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was to establish the deen of Allah here in this world, over all other systems. So, a lot of us, when we learn about Islam, we think of it as just a mere religion. But if you think about the word religion, especially how religion is used today, it basically consists of three things: a set of beliefs, customs, and rituals. That's it. So we think about the 5 pillars commonly. Commonly, when many of us think about Islam, we just think about that. But Islam is more than that. Islam is a complete way of life, a complete deen. And this is something that our Prophet ﷺ, with the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the help of the Sahaba, he was able to establish in Arabia. And then, of course, the righteous Khulafa, they spread Islam even further. But unfortunately, as those of us who know the history, it didn't last. The righteous Khilafah, as we once had it, it changed into something else. What did it change it to? Dynasties, monarchies. It started with the Umayyads, and then the Abbasids, and then the Ottomans. And then there were other ones too, but these are the 3 major ones. So yes, there was some sort of Khilafah at that point, but the spirit of Islam wasn't there. Not 100%. Maybe in some cases, it was there maybe 90%, maybe 80%, maybe less. But that spirit wasn't there anymore. So now we don't have any type of khilafah at all. All of that's gone. So what are we left with? What do we do? What do we do now? We have to think about that. As believers in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as slaves to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have to obey Allah in everything possible. Islam is a complete package. Yes, we have very strict guidelines on how to pray. But even when it comes to collective affairs, we have guidelines. We have guidelines for a political system, guidelines for an economic system, guidelines for a social system. And within these guidelines, we have flexibility. But we have to follow these guidelines because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He knows what's best for us. So now I'm going to recite one more ayah. This is ayah 25 from Surah Al-Hadid. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لقد أرسلنا رسلنا بالبينات وأنزلنا معهم الكتاب والميزان ليقوم الناس بالقسط وأنزلنا الحديد فيه بأس شديد ومنافع للناس وليعلم الله من ينصره ورسله بالغيب إن الله قوي عزيز. So here's the translation. We have indeed sent our messengers with clear proofs and sent down with them the book and the balance so that people may uphold justice. We also sent down iron, wherein is material for military might, as well as many benefits for people, so that Allah may know those who help Him, His cause, and His messengers, though unseen. Surely Allah is powerful and mighty. So let's take a step back. Why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala send the messengers to mankind? Why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala send messengers to people? Essentially for guidance. Essentially for guidance. Guidance to the truth, the ultimate truth. The truth about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created all of us, and that He alone is worthy of being worshipped. The truth about the hereafter, that all of us will be judged, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will look at every single thing that we do, whether it's big or small, and He'll judge us in the most fair way possible. The messengers taught us about Jannah and Jahannam. It's eternity. It's eternity. So when it comes to eternity, we have to take care of ourselves. We have to do what's best for us. A lot of us spend a lot of time planning for our retirement. And I don't want to discourage you from doing that. Definitely do that, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to plan. But our ultimate retirement is going to be where? In the akhirah. Inshallah, in Jannah. May Allah grant us all Jannah. Ameen. But there's something more. The messengers were also sent for another very important reason. And this reason we covered in this ayah. For justice. For justice. So that human beings, so that we as a people, as a community, establish justice in our societies. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to establish justice. That's why He sent guidance for us. That's very important. So now, our Prophet ﷺ, his mission, as I mentioned, was to establish the deen of Allah. And the main benefit in establishing the deen of Allah is that divine justice is established. Justice for everyone. Justice for Muslims, justice for people of other faiths, even justice for the animals, the plants, and the environment. The sense of justice it's so amazing. A lot of times when people are asked about Islam, tell me about Islam, people say Islam is a religion of peace. And that's true, definitely true. But what I like to say is that Islam is a religion of justice. Because without justice, you will not have peace. You will have oppression. We need justice here in this world. And yes, things, especially here in America, alhamdulillah, we're blessed. We're blessed. Things are more just in America than in most other countries, including Muslim majority countries. And for that, we should be grateful. But yes, there's still room for improvement, definitely. Let's get back to this. So one other thing I wanted to mention about justice is justice on the Day of Judgment. It's an amazing thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as we all know, His mercy and compassion is more than we could ever imagine. But at the same time, His mercy and compassion does not negate His sense of justice. So we can understand it like this. Whenever it comes to a sin that we commit that doesn't harm anyone else, it's between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no matter how big the sin is, the mercy of Allah is greater. So no matter how big of a sin that we commit, as long as we repent sincerely to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will forgive us. And that's a guarantee. And the mercy of Allah is that even if we don't repent for certain sins, He might still forgive them. That's at His discretion. That's at His discretion. The only thing He's not going to forgive, and that's mentioned in the Quran, is shirk. If someone dies committing shirk. But other than that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could forgive everything. That's His sense of mercy. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also has a sense of justice. When it comes to us violating the rights of someone else, if we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us, is that going to be enough? That's not enough. We have to seek forgiveness from the person that we harmed as well. And many times, and we have to be smart. As believers, we have to be smart. Many times when you hurt someone and you ask forgiveness from them, it's not a good idea because it's going to open up old wounds. So in many cases, what you need to do is find another way to make it up for that person, make it up to that person. One example is doing some sadaqah jariyah. and asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give credit to this person. You know? And maybe other things that you can do, that you can benefit this person. But the thing is, if we don't settle things here, the score is going to be settled in the akhirah. And that's scary, my dear brothers and sisters. May Allah save us from that. Well, yeah, so this, basically, I wanted to highlight all of that because the sense of justice is extremely important to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now let's get back to us. So what do we do? How do we establish justice here in our life? We live in a very different life than, our Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba. 1,400 years apart, different continent. Technology is different, lifestyles are different. People are different in some ways. But the nature of human beings, it's still the same. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that. And that's why the Quran, even though the Quran was revealed 1,400 years ago, it is still as relevant today as it was back then. And even if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows how long the world is going to last, even if the world lasts 1,000,000 years, the Quran is still going to be valid for that time. But yes. So another thing that's also valid is the seerah. The seerah, and that's what we're studying. That's what we're discussing. So yes, we might not be able to copy every single thing from the life of our Prophet ﷺ, but we could still gain the lessons. We could still gain the lessons. So I want to talk about 4 lessons. And these are 4 lessons that we could all apply. First lesson is dawah. Dawah. And what does dawah mean? It's to invite and propagate the message of Islam. And this is something that, we should do. Our Prophet ﷺ, he did this immediately. Who was the first person he spoke to after receiving revelation? His wife, Khadija, radiallahu anha. And then he continued with his household. And then he went to his best friend, Abu Bakr. May Allah be pleased with him. And Abu Bakr, he understood how serious this business is. So Abu Bakr, he started the work right away, the work of dawah. So he was able to, with his dawah, he was able to convert many of the greatest Sahaba, including Uthman, Abdul Rahman ibn Auf, Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas, among others. The Sahaba, they understood the importance of the work of dawah. They continued it, in the lifetime of our Prophet ﷺ, but they didn't stop there. After the death of our Prophet ﷺ, most of the Sahaba, they actually left Makkah and Medina. If you think about how many Sahaba, percentage-wise, were buried in Medina, it's a very small percentage. And I can't remember the exact number, maybe 10%, maybe 20% tops. All the other Sahaba, they went out to spread the message of Islam. So dawah is something that all of us can do. And I know a lot of us, we have very busy lives. We're busy with our families, with work, with school, with different things. And yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He knows our situation. He knows our abilities. He's only going to judge us based on what we can do. But one thing that all of us can do when it comes to dawah is dawah through our character. Being a good Muslim is the best form of dawah that we can do. Being a good Muslim in every sense. So being a good Muslim in terms of our obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but also in terms of how we treat our family members, how we treat our relatives and our friends and our community members and our neighbors. These are all ways that we could improve ourselves, improve the image of Islam. And these are ways that we could spread Islam to people. Because unfortunately, there is a lot of Islamophobia nowadays. But if you think about it, there was Islamophobia during the lifetime of our Prophet ﷺ as well. The Quraysh and even the uncle of our Prophet ﷺ, Abu Lahab, they spread lies about our Prophet ﷺ. They said he was a madman, he was a magician, he was someone who tried to break ties between parents and children, between between siblings. These are the lies they spread about our Prophet ﷺ. And yes, it hurt him. Yes, it hurt him. And the lies that these Islamophobes are spreading about us, yes, it hurts. But it's a challenge that we have to overcome. We can't just sit back and complain. We have to take a proactive approach. Every non-Muslim that we touch, a non-Muslim who's been listening to Fox News and other forms of Islamophobia, every person that we touch, we shatter the illusions that they had about Islam. So this is something that all of us can do. And it doesn't require any extra time. All we need to do is be a good Muslim. Be a good Muslim, but in everything. Not just, praying and fasting. That's not enough. Allah wants more from us. And of course, as we all know, our job is not to convert people. Our job is to present the message to people in the most beautiful way, in the most effective way. And that's what we need to do as a community. So that's lesson number 1. Lesson number 2 is organization. And alhamdulillah, Dr. Bukhari, he actually said a lot of the things that I was going to say, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. But organization, working together as a group effectively, trusting your leaders, having faith in your people, leading people because you actually care about them. These are all things that our Prophet ﷺ did, and his Sahaba did as well. So, matching the right people to the right job, as Dr. Bukhari said. That's important. That's an important aspect of leadership. And yes, learning from the seerah is very important. But at the same time, we should take advantage of modern knowledge as well. The modern principles of servant leadership, it closely resembles the leadership style of our Prophet ﷺ. So that's something that we need to look into as well. Servant leadership. Our ummah needs leaders. Real leaders who can organize, who can motivate, who can make people optimistic, inspire them, so that they can all serve the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's what we want to do. We don't want leaders who want to lead only for fame or wealth or power. That's not a real leader. A real leader is someone who uses his or her abilities that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them to serve the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To serve the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to serve the people. That's what we need. All right, let's go to the third one. What's the time, by the way? Okay, not too bad. Third lesson is purification and development. Purification and development. So this was done by our Prophet ﷺ primarily through the Quran itself. The Quran, pondering over the Quran, reciting the Quran during the night. These are things that the Sahaba did. And our Prophet ﷺ did as well. But these are things that changed the way that they thought. It changed their hearts. It made them the amazing people that they became. Because as we all know, the Sahaba, many of them, they had not so good lives before, to put it lightly. Some of them were actually, criminals or involved in major sins. But after they became Muslim, it might not have happened overnight, but through the Quran, they became the best of people after the prophets. The best of people after the prophets. And because of that, our Prophet ﷺ was so successful, because he had help. The other prophets, many of the other prophets and messengers, they did not have the support of their companions, right? So we know the story about Musa alayhi salam. We know many stories about Musa alayhi salam. But when he was told to go to the Holy Land, Philistine at that time, and at that time they had to fight physically. So he asked his people, the children of Israel, to fight with them. And what did they say? They said, "Go you and your Lord fight." They refused. And that's why Musa alayhi salam, in his time, they weren't successful. From a worldly perspective. Because ultimately, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's the one who controls the results. but He's going to judge us based on our efforts. Okay, so purification and development. Another thing that I wanted to add was, one of the ways that we can do this, and one of the easiest ways we can do this, is to have good company. Being in the company of your brothers and sisters who also fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who also want to be good people, and who want to help society. That helps. That alone raises our iman. But really what we need, especially in the modern world, is we need people to really ponder over the Quran, to dive deeply into the Quran, to gain the wisdom of the Quran. And so that would give us iman with an intellectual dimension. And this is something that we need. This is something that we need. The more deeply we ponder over the Quran, the more we realize that only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have given this. This would never come from any human being or any jinn or anyone like that. Because there's a certain way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks that no other creation could ever speak. There's a way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows us because He created us. So He knows our weaknesses, He knows our strengths. But ultimately, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He wants us to strive for His cause. To strive for His cause. He doesn't expect perfection from us. He does not expect perfection from us. Because He already has a creation that's perfect. The angels, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He expects us to sin, to make mistakes, but at the same time, He wants us to rise up every single time and try harder. And say, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I messed up. I'm sorry. But next time, I'll do better. Next time, I won't make this mistake again. That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us. So purification and development. Another thing I want to add, and this is something that we sometimes neglect, is whenever we talk about development, especially in a masjid or an Islamic organization, we talk about learning fiqh, learning aqidah, learning tazkiyah, all these Islamic subjects. And, these are all important and we have to learn them. But at the same time, we have to focus on quote-unquote secular knowledge too. We have to develop ourselves professionally. We have to understand how society works, how the world works. We have to study history. We have to study sociology, how people interact with each other, civilizations, all of these things. And then, we have to also develop our skills. Because ultimately, we want to develop our skills to benefit this deen, to benefit the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And ultimately, we're doing all of this. All of this that we're doing is to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to gain His mercy and pleasure in the akhirah. And may Allah make that happen for all of us. As long as we do something permissible, of course, as long as we do something permissible for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it becomes worship. It becomes ibadah. And in some cases, spending some time developing yourself, even in secular abilities, that could be better than praying tahajjud. That could be more effective and more beneficial for our community than praying extra tahajjud. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. So I'm not going to say what's better or worse. But at the same time, like I said, we have to be smart. We have to be, as Dr. Bukhari said, we have to be strategic. We have to look at our situation that we have and then do the best that we can, inshallah. All right, so last one that I have is activism. Activism. So we need to be active members in the greater community and strive to make a positive difference. One of the things that our Muslim community struggles with is identity. Especially those of us who were born in a different country, or even those of us who are children of someone born in a different country. We struggle with identity. A lot of times, we tell our parents that, I have Muslim friends and then I have American friends. We're all American. We're all American. And we have to feel in our heart that this is our country. This is our country. We have a right to be in this country. And we have a right and a responsibility to improve things in our country because this is our country. If we were somewhere else, would we not do the same? We would, inshallah. we would. So one of the things that we have a responsibility toward is promoting what is good and forbidding, speaking out against what is evil. This is our responsibility as an ummah, as the ummah of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Promoting good, I'll say it's simple, not necessarily easy, because that requires time and dedication and sacrifice. But it's simple in the sense that, you're not going to get much opposition from it. If we do relief work, no one's going to criticize us. No one's going to criticize us. But the moment we start speaking out against injustice, we're going to face opposition. Some opposition. It depends on the level, of course. But, if we speak out against what is commonly known and commonly accepted as injustice, we will get allies as well, even from people of other faiths. So, some simple examples. Institutionalized racism. That's a big one that we have today. Economic exploitation. Unjust wars. Unjust political wars. So these are things that we have to speak out against. And yes, we might get criticized, we might face some resistance, but this is our moral obligation as American Muslims to do that. And don't let anyone tell you that you're not patriotic. It's patriotic to improve your country. So let's do it, inshallah. So we can't shy away from this work. And as I mentioned before, the conditions of justice are amazing in the United States. In other countries, we can't even talk like this. In other countries, we can't even in Muslim majority countries, we wouldn't be able to have a Sira conference like this. Everything would probably have to be scripted. So we have to count our blessings. We have to be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for everything that we have. And one of the ways that we can show this gratitude is use whatever abilities that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us for the benefit of the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the benefit of people. And this is something that we owe to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we owe to our deen, and we owe to our society. Things aren't perfect here. There's always room for improvement. So we need to strive toward improvement. Another benefit to activism, and I touched upon this a little bit. I'm sorry, I'm going to go maybe a little bit over time, but I'll try not to go too much because we still have to pray Isha and then we'll eat, inshallah. But another side benefit to activism is that through this, we can change the image that others have of Muslims. And this is something that I hope for one day. One day, you can call me a dreamer for hoping this, but I'm really optimistic about things. So I hope one day when a non-Muslim sees a Muslim walking down the street, he or she immediately feels a sense of peace and tranquility just by seeing a Muslim. That's what I hope for. I hope for that. And I hope for one day, whenever someone does a business transaction with a Muslim, they feel rest assured that they will be treated fairly. Unfortunately, and this is, a sad thing, that we as Muslims, a lot of times and I'm probably guilty of this myself, is that we would rather do business with a non-Muslim than our own Muslim brothers and sisters because we trust non-Muslims more than we trust Muslims. And that's a sad reality. And this is something that we have to change. And let's change this together as a group, as a jama'ah, as a community. Because any positive change that happened in society, it was not done by one person. Yes, one person might have started it, but everything positive, even negative for that matter, but everything positive requires a group effort. Even the prophets and messengers, they were given miracles, right? They were all given miracles. But in terms of changing society, that had to be a human struggle. That had to be a human struggle. That was not done by miracles. So my dear brothers and sisters, we have to work together. And yes, there will be challenges. There will be conflicts here and there. But we have to still work our best, As leaders, we need to improve our leadership ability. But as non-leaders, as people under a leader, we need to, be a little more forgiving to our leaders, for lack of a better word. But yes, so we need to improve in all possible ways. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as I mentioned, He's not going to judge us for our results. He's going to judge us based on our efforts. So let's do the best that we can, and let's strive to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One last thing I wanted to mention is that, let's always remember to be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for everything that He has given to us, but at the same time, let's open our eyes to the world as it is, not as the way that we want it. Let's open our eyes to the way the world is. We have to first understand the flaws in society before we're able to change it, before we're able to transform it. So we have to be realistic, whether it comes to our own flaws, our personal flaws, or the flaws of society. We have to be open to seeing things how they actually are, and then strive towards improving them. And inshallah, if we all make the effort, things will improve. Things will improve, inshallah. So let's all be optimistic and, let's do our best. But may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always guide us and accept our efforts, however big or little they are. And may He grant us mercy and pleasure in the akhirah. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.